Here is a comprehensive look at some of the most significant developments dominating headlines today. Top stories. A high-profile American political figure has just concluded an impactful tour of the Gulf, marked by substantial trade agreements and bold pronouncements on international relations. Concurrently, efforts to broker peace in Ukraine face considerable hurdles with this same figure, positing that a direct encounter with Russian President Vladimir Putin is the indispensable condition for progress. We will also delve into his candid perspectives on a range of critical subjects, from the complex situation regarding hostages in Gaza to his pointed observations on the domestic political landscape in the United States. Part 1. A deep dive into the Middle East tour and the projection of American economic might. The recent whirlwind tour by a prominent American political figure through the strategically vital Gulf nations culminated in Abu Dhabi, marking the conclusion of a visit he enthusiastically characterized as an incredible and indeed historic four-day period. The absolute cornerstone and primary focus of this diplomatic foray was the finalization of numerous multi-billion-dollar agreements spanning both the trade and defense sectors. He confidently asserted with a tone of triumph that the sheer scale and potential impact of these deals were utterly unprecedented in history, promising a significant and welcome influx of jobs and money back into the United States economy. He specifically highlighted American-based companies as being particularly well-positioned and poised to benefit significantly from these newly forged partnerships and expanded market access. The nature of his visit deliberately went beyond the more formal and traditional state-to-state interactions, actively fostering what he described as deeply personal and even family-to-family connections. This unique approach notably included the active participation of members of his own family in facilitating business discussions and potential deals through his various enterprises, blurring the lines between statecraft and personal business. He expressed profound admiration and effusive praise for the leaders he met in the Gulf, describing them with terms like great people and great leaders, who, in his estimation, harbor a deep affection and respect for the United States. His assertion that the U.S. is now in pretty good shape and no longer needs to engage in wooing suggests a perceived strengthening of America's negotiating position and a more dominant influence within the region, implying that these nations are now eager to align with American interests. Underpinning his foreign policy approach is the enduring and often repeated principle of peace through strength. He firmly believes that the vitality and robustness of the American economy, particularly its capacity for the creation of domestic jobs, serves as the fundamental and most potent source of this national strength. Recognizing this core belief, Gulf nations are reportedly committing substantial investments across various critical sectors of the U.S. economy, ranging from advanced aerospace industries and cutting-edge artificial intelligence research and development to vital energy infrastructure. A particularly notable development that occurred during this period was the lifting of certain restrictions imposed by the previous administration on the export of sensitive technologies such as advanced AI chips to the UAE. This move is widely seen as a significant boost to the UAE's ambitious plans of becoming a global leader in the rapidly evolving field of artificial intelligence. Furthermore, the scale of defense cooperation was underscored by the signing of what the White House described as the largest arms sale ever in history with Saudi Arabia, signaling a deep commitment to regional security partnerships. Considering the significant emphasis placed on economic leverage and defense cooperation in this approach, can these substantial business ties and security alliances effectively pave the way for lasting peace and stability in a region that remains fraught with complex historical tensions and ongoing challenges? Part 2. The Ukraine conundrum is a direct meeting. The only path forward. Shifting our focus to the are focused from the realm of economic diplomacy and regional security. The ongoing peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia, currently hosted in Turkey, appear increasingly complex, fragile, and have thus far yielded limited tangible progress towards a resolution. The United States, in a notably frank assessment, has openly conveyed its low expectations regarding the potential immediate outcomes of these particular discussions. The American political figure delivered a pointed and attention-grabbing declaration that cut directly to the heart of the matter, stating unequivocally that nothing is going to happen until Putin and I meet. He articulated a clear belief that Russian President Vladimir Putin would not participate meaningfully in the negotiations unless he himself was also physically present. This assertion, which some observers noted seemed to diverge somewhat from earlier indications or suggestions he had made, was notably echoed and reinforced by U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, who emphasized that the only breakthrough in the current stalled situation would likely necessitate a direct high-level dialogue between the two presidents. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky has consistently reiterated his willingness to engage in peace talks aimed at ending the conflict, but has simultaneously and publicly accused President Putin of lacking genuine seriousness in the peace process and not feeling sufficiently compelled to end the war at this juncture. Russia has dispatched a comparatively lower-level delegation to Istanbul for the talks, of fact interpreted by some as an indicator of their current priorities or lack of urgency. While the Russian representative present has publicly stated a desire for achieving a lasting peace, there remains widespread skepticism among international observers and analysts that these specific talks in their current format will significantly advance the cause of peace in Ukraine in the near term. Despite Istanbul being geographically quite close to the Middle East and seemingly almost on the way home to the United States, the American figure ultimately did not make a stop in Turkey, despite earlier suggestions that he might consider doing so if his presence could be deemed beneficial or catalytic to the talks. It is clear that in his view, a direct meeting with President Putin is deemed necessary to effectively address the Ukraine situation, but it is explicitly not anticipated to occur within the current week, leaving the path forward uncertain. Let's now turn to his characteristically forthright and often controversial views on other pressing global issues and his pointed commentary on the American political landscape. Part 3. From Hostage Situations to Domestic Critiques, Unfiltered Perspectives. In his concluding remarks delivered just before his return to Washington, the American political figure touched upon a variety of other significant and often sensitive issues, consistently employing his highly personalized and direct diplomatic style. Regarding the sensitive matter of hostages, particularly in the context of the conflict in Gaza, he expressed a degree of pride in the successful release of an American-Israeli hostage that occurred just prior to his arrival in the region, highlighting his involvement. He conveyed a strong and urgent desire to secure the freedom of the remaining hostages, although he candidly acknowledged that some are unfortunately in not good shape, implying concerns about their well-being. He stated that efforts would continue to work towards their release. Addressing the complex situation in Syria, he maintained that recognizing the new government was the right thing to do, framing it as a necessary and pragmatic step to help Syria succeed and recover after enduring many years of turmoil, civil conflict, and facing what he described as brutal international sanctions. He characterized the Syrian leader as a strong, young, and energetic individual who, in his assessment, wants to do a good job. Turning specifically to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, he acknowledged the pressing need to help the Palestinians, highlighting the dire situation where many people are starving in the area, and emphasizing the need to look at both sides. He also indicated that he would be open to considering a proposal reportedly put forth by Egypt that would involve Hamas relinquishing power in exchange for achieving a measure of peace or stability. Furthermore, he alluded to ongoing efforts to fix or improve the situations in both Ukraine and Iran, and pointed to what he considered a big success in de-escalating recent tensions between India and Pakistan. Regarding Iran specifically, he issued a stern and direct warning advising them to act fast or face the prospect of bad things happening, suggesting a potential consequence for inaction. His commentary was by no means confined solely to foreign policy matters. He also offered candid, often critical, and sometimes controversial observations on the domestic political scene in the United States. He openly questioned the health stamina and overall capability of the current president, Joe Biden, suggesting that Biden is not in good shape and is being deliberately protected or shielded by a collective they, implying his staff, political allies, and potentially the media. He argued forcefully that the United States as a global power, facing numerous challenges, cannot afford to have a leader in such a condition, particularly when faced with the necessity of making life-and-death decisions that impact the nation and the world. Another comment that garnered significant attention and sparked debate was his expression of support for admitting white farmers from South Africa into the United States as refugees. He cited what he described as evidence of them being brutally treated, and suggested that a genocide might be taking place against them, a claim that is highly contested internationally. He adamantly insisted that his stance on this specific matter was not racially motivated, but rather rooted in what he presented as the humanitarian principle of saving lives, and a willingness to provide refuge to anyone who is being subjected to severe mistreatment unequivocally, stating that this would apply no matter what their color. Given this prominent figure's distinctive approach to diplomacy and governance, characterized by a strong emphasis on personal relationships, deal-making, and often blunt public commentary, do you believe this is the most effective strategy for navigating and resolving the complex international challenges and domestic issues the world and the United States face today? Share your perspectives and insights in the comments below.